We would like to thank Fruit for the sponsoring of the coffee break this afternoon. And we're going to start out the last panel where we have different leaders of our industry who, from different perspectives, are going to analyze the challenges and opportunities that we have for the blueberry industry. The panel will be composed of Mrs. Echenique, the manager of corporate affairs, and Beta Foods manager, Mr. Ruy Barbosa, general manager of Not Pigs Products, Lucianos Fiszman, blueberry category manager from the gourmet trading company, and president of Fede Fruta, Mr. Jorge Valenzuela. The panel will be moderated by the president of ASOEX, Mr. Iván Marambio. A round of applause for them, please. Good afternoon once again, and good afternoon, the panelists. We have a very important responsibility upon us because this is the last part of the convention, and the topics have been touched upon already, and this is what people expect from us on this opportunity. I have a very interesting piece of information here, and these are the most used words and least used words in this convention, the phrases that are the most used and least used during the convention. The most used word is quality. It is a condition, firmness, and the least used words are productivity, efficiency, sustainability, promotion. The most used phrases now, new varieties. Least used phrases. What do we do with the varieties that we presently have? Mr. Luis Barbosa. What should be the strategy for our blueberries? Quality, based on quality rather than productivity. The productivity in Chile is around 10 tons per hectare or 11 tons per hectare. I heard at a committee that with 10 hectares per or 10 tons per hectare was misery, and the representative said that they had 20 tons per hectare. So the question is, what should we overcome first, our problems or productivity or quality? Well, good afternoon, everybody, and thank you for the invitation. On my opinion, I am not a technician or agronomist, but according to what I see, unfortunately, the present situation that our industry is going through require both. In order to succeed, we need to be productive and with a good quality. In my opinion, there is no space for anything else, and a variety of all the plant breeders that were here offer this. Would say that we also need to be very early because we have lost a lot of competitiveness. It is sad to say this because we were a leader for a long time, and the company I represent requires still the Chilean production, and this is part of our supply because the Chilean production has some characteristics when we arrive the markets with quality, efficiency that are highly valued by the industry, but we do not have a space for more mistakes, errors. There is no space to tackle a situation, a crisis like the one we had with the containers. We are improving the transit times, but we still have a lot to improve in the logistics chain. Chile is becoming a red tape as a whole, where exporting is not easy anymore, where every one of you, because I should say, as a member of the blueberry board and representative of a small exporters, you have to allocate a lot of resources for your foreign trade departments in order to solve logistics problems during the season. And today there is no time and no money for this. And in order not to delve into this topic too much, I mean, we need the quality because we are speaking of the variety replacement. Maybe this is the way to follow because the old varieties do not have a space and the supermarkets don't want them. Maybe they get out from the country very nice. And finally, destination, we finally find them very good, but it's not what the supermarket or the customers are requiring or asking for, and particularly with the penetration of the production from Peru and the Spain and Morocco. So the question today, Ivan, is that or the productivity should go hand in hand with the quality, otherwise we will not have this average nationwide. Well, another favorite word is window. Luciano, do you think that looking for windows that are finally lost is part of the strategy? Exhausted. I do agree with everything that you mentioned here. I am Argentinian, and in Argentina, went into this market by looking for windows and see the result we had. A window is for the short term. A window is not applicable for the long run, and the sustainability goes hand in hand with the other elements. When my son asked me who is the winner in a soccer playing, the one who is doing more scoring or plays more. So the only thing that would add something here, and this is part of the discussions that we had with Gustavo, is wondering how realistic is in the short term to do the variety replacement, and this is equal to zero. There is no possibility that the people who are present here change quickly enough all of the orchards with the varieties. I am not aware of. Maybe they are not tested. I don't know if the nurseries have enough plants for the short term. That would be the ideal situation, but this becomes easily utopia. So we have to land a realistic plan for the industry on how or what we should do. And to have three groups of variety, I think is very interesting. I think, or I would propose that this is reviewed. I have seen two or three of them, and I would invite those who do not understand why they are in group number three. They should see the result at destination and to understand that these products are not appropriate for sales, and it's very difficult to sell them. And maybe the consumer is coming 4 weeks later to buy the same product. So we have to mention the promotions to what we do for promotions. And if we don't have the correct product, we cannot think of this promotion. You have a fantastic team here in the United States, at least. I don't know other destinations. But we constantly need to educate the supermarkets, the consumers even. You need to have better tools in order to do this work. Juan Pablo, in his presentation, spoke about the wideness or good and bad spectrum. We took the yellow group, the fair group, as a good one. The yellow group is not a good enough. It's not good enough because yellow is like driving after the yellow light is on. So we have to consider what happens after with the truck when it arrives to the supermarket and when the fruit reaches the home of the consumer. And this is important to be considered until the consumer goes back to buy the product again at the supermarket. So I come back to the original concept. The window is important, but without productivity and quality, this window would be easily shut down. And here we have many friends, and I hope that you still stay there. And we have to learn from other industries, from other locations where we didn't do things right, and to do them quickly. And as part to this variety replacement, Nordic is doing that very well. But we should see how realistic this is for the long run. And in here, we need a different scale in order to look for the people and to see what they can do to continue in this business and to make it feasible. A competitor of Chile from the southern hemisphere that does not have blueberries yet uses as a slogan irresistible fruit. Maria Elena, what do you think? What do you think of the sweetness of the Chilean blueberry? In the past, it was said that the Peruvian blueberry had less flavor, but today, as a result of the new varieties, we have fruit that is sweeter and therefore more irresistible. Well, all Chileans had this opinion that the blueberry from Peru was very sour, and Peru has already overcome this problem. But I think that Chile has a competitive advantage. We have, for example, these varieties that require the coolness, and we need to work on that, particularly for the Chinese market. They require this fruit to be sweeter. So, in order to differentiate, we need the competitiveness, and to be competitive, we need to have at the same time this blueberry that is sweeter. Now, regarding the costs of Peru, on that before were very well differentiated, and we used to say that Peru was cheaper. Now the situation is comparable, and now we need to have something that identifies ourselves in the market, and therefore trying to get a different and sweeter blueberry would be the right way to follow. And Jorge, the perspective from the farmers, the producers, and the varietal replacement in 17% for the countries that are competing with Chile, over 50%. So we have this enormous gap. At the same time, we need to understand that there is a lot of money involved, and how can we do it from the practical point of view in order to encourage the producer to do this variety replacement. Thank you for the invitation, and I would like to greet everyone. So this is a very good question, because we were with Andrea in the south of Chile in a tour, and we were discussing with different farmers, and not only in connection with the blueberries, but there is no doubt that in the last 2 years, in general terms, the fruit is carrying some very serious problems of financing. So one way is how we can do all of this together with the exporters, the farmers, because in a certain way we have to help each other. Because one of the major crises that we are facing today is the financial one, so that the banking sector believes in us again to find new ways for funding, and the replacement is something that is urgent to do, and this is possible with money, and it should be done quickly. And today the farmers are trapped in this situation. So I think that these should go hand in hand. and we have to seek for financing, and many exporters have some plants reserved of new varieties, and today the farmers who used to say that they need more varieties are paralyzed because they need to move the ground, they have to include the technified irrigation systems. So there is a lot of money that should be invested to this end. And in Peru, they are producing in just 7 months, and it takes longer for Chile to do so. So this is a major crisis, and the banking sector should once again contribute to the agriculture sector because we're always paying back, and therefore financing is a key factor. Thank you, Jorge. Felipe this morning and Gonzalo this afternoon spoke about versatility, sorry. And I should compare this to the volume that is going to be received. And you said that if you freeze this product, the value goes up. So the versatility maybe is playing against us. And maybe the farmer will say, I can choose to send this out frozen as a frozen product with the worsening of the quality or all the work that is involved in order to preserve the quality. I hope this is not the case because I think it is an advantage, the flexibility and the versatility that we have in Chile. And for what you said, I think that we should direct part of the production for frozen products right from the beginning involves an advantage from the cost point of view, and it requires to provide different care. For example, we say that we are selling the fruit at the perfect ripening point, so when it's frozen. It's nice to eat it right away. So this management sometimes implies better throughput and yield, and therefore they have savings because this involves less labor, and maybe they can have these preliminary intention. So I would see this rather as an advantage, and this is a point that requires further development. And we are just seeing all of this. Some people are evaluating the possibility to allocate the whole production to frozen products, and they should have these advantages. Then we have to consider the flexibility. The industry is very appealing because if the number of different products elaborated from this industry is amazing. For example, we have the dry frozen products and others, the frozen products and dry frozen products. And maybe this is just one product, but at the same time, we have different SKUs, different mixtures of products, the sized products by varieties, different markets for the different markets. For example, the products for Asia, where we need to send the better varieties, sweeter varieties. So the flexibility should be a differentiator, and we should take into account the percentage of fruit, as I said in my presentation, that we are allocating to the industry is very high. I don't know if there are some other fruits that are allocated to the fresh markets. We have, for example, some apples that are allocated for the industry, for the factories, and the processed fruits. And our vision is to be participating in 50% for the next season. Thank you. Maria Elena, you spoke of attributes. And maybe we still need additional attributes. And as SOEX, we believe that the Chilean fruit or the Chile brand requires an attribute. So, what do you think? because you already mentioned sweetness, but what are the other attributes that could identify Chile and the blueberry?
The key word you've mentioned is sustainability. I think this is not only a trendy word, but it has become a requirement. We, in Chile, can work towards sustainability. We tend to see this as a faraway concept that is of other people's concern. However, sustainability is efficiency. It's using resources adequately, avoid excess, be efficient. And we used to believe that we were a plant health safe haven. And maybe we can work towards that as well. But we must be efficient. But be efficient requires measuring what we do. This has to go beyond words and actually become a process of measurement. And by doing that, I think that blueberries will be much more valued in markets. In Europe, this is a basic requirement. And the US also is making a lot of progress towards that. Sustainability is really fulfilling all requirements without compromising resources for future generations. That's what the literature says. And one more thing, no one should be left behind. I think I will go to Mexico because Juan Jose spoke a lot about sustainability. And here in Chile, I think that we still lack that. We must concentrate on that and really do things differently. Jorge, nowadays we are facing a moment of crisis. 16 to 17% of new varieties, and the rest are varieties that should be replaced. What do we do in the meantime? And my question is, are farmers doing everything they can to have the best products with the varieties at hand? Excellent question. I think they are not. I think that we must acknowledge that we are facing a productivity issue. And blueberry has a very good genetic offering, but we are not doing our part. I think that the financial crisis also plays a role there in terms of decision making and possibilities. But we are discussing the issue, and there are some productive matters that need to be addressed. Also, I think that they were bad diagnosis when it comes to Peru. I have to say that not only with blueberry but also grapes and the fruit. We used to say that our blueberries were sweeter than Peruvian, and they corrected that, and now we are stuck. So we need to really look at in the mirror and really see what we need to do and really speed up the replacement of varieties. But we need to know how to handle that. I need to buy technology and know how to use that to make things faster and to have correct management in order to obtain the best yield possible quality of that new genetic material. Our level of self-criticism is higher today than in the past, which made us make certain mistakes when assessing the competitors, our competitors, and now we just need to keep on working. I don't know what you think about this, but to me, the worst thing is really being indifferent or to really ignore things. That's worse than being bad or good. Do you think, Luciano, that what is happening in Peru, Chile, and Mexico is a situation in which U.S. importers are now neglecting Chile and going straight to Mexico or Peru for their products? Well, U.S. retailers don't see things personally. This is not because Chile has fallen from grace or anything like that. I think that what they are seeing is a difference, and they are looking at what fruit is better for their business and what is not. And once again, I would like to talk about quality in that sense, the conditions, and the basic thing is that their clients should have a good experience and then come back and buy more. Regardless of what we think should be the right flavor of blueberry, this is a product that we know for few years recently, and in the United States they know this product for much longer, and now the Chinese. So what we need to know is that quality is set by the consumer, and we need to learn how to listen. If the Peruvian fruit has the crunchiness, the flavor, the size that is valued by U.S. consumers, this and if no one else can offer that, of course, that will make a difference, and they will go for the Peruvian fruit or the Mexican one that takes less than 1 week to get from the field to the store in a truck. Therefore, the probability of the fruit being damaged in a truck is much lower as well. Now, more than the 16% that you've mentioned or other figures, I don't want to really mention any names, but in Peru, 60% of their varieties is Biloxi and Ventura. In the case of Mexico, Biloxi, I'm sure, should be one of the main ones. We have to ask Juan Jose. However, they are making a difference vis-a-vis everything that we are talking about, like legacy varieties that we use in Chile. We're not saying that they prefer the Peruvian Sequoia Pop. No, they prefer a simple Biloxi to what we can offer. Therefore, I think that our judgment is clouded, and we have become arrogant, and we have to admit that our diagnosis is wrong, and we did not look to the right place. This is my 17th season in Chile. Back when I began in this business, I had hair on my head and I lived with my mom. So a few years have passed, and more than the jokes of being an Argentinian in Chile, people would always point out to me, like a personal matter, that Peru would surpass Argentina, but Chile was untouchable. And look at us today. We forgot to separate reason from emotions, and the lack of humility has led us to where we are today. I am drifting away from my point. During the strong season, blueberry season, the high blueberry season, people told me that they had tasted in American supermarkets Chilean fruit, and they had it found that softer than the Chilean ones. But they also told me that I don't know if is that the Chilean fruit it was softer, or if we gotten used to the Peruvian fruit, which is firmer. So the question is, have they improved their quality? Have we worsened our quality, or both? I think it's a combination of both things. It is true that, let's put it that way, a Duke from Parral is softer since we have Biloxi in Trujillo. But I think that the Duke in Parral is older, therefore weaker, and those farmers in Parral have not making the money they want, and therefore they are not making all the effort they can in favor of their farms. So I'm not saying this is an easy business, but those that believe that it is the same to fertilize or not a field, or to really carry out the best practices in terms of pesticides, will be will not be will reach the same results by doing or not doing these things. Well, they are completely lost. We have to start there to really making people aware of what they need to do. My comment is, personally, I think that group 1 should be group 2 should be group 3, and some of the group 2 shouldn't be group 3 and should skip directly to group 4, because we are saying that 16% are new varieties. Shouldn't we eventually promote those as group 1, and in group 1 accept them as 2 but not really promote them as much? I learned a few years ago that you only make a mistake once. If there is a variety that is not performing well, you shouldn't try again. I think that really taking your chances once and over again is a mistake. I think that Ruy wants the Chilean fruit to do well, and me too. When we had the problem with COVID a few years ago, and the ships were late, prices went up more than $20 to $30 a pint, and I think that there was a strong demand for fruits that time in January, I believe, of that year, and that's what we had to do because there was a concrete need for fruit. But on that point, Rui, when we have large volumes like in Peru and Mexico and other sources, and if we need to increase consumption, promoting the product should be more relevant, don't you think? And we haven't talked that much about that today. I think that the committee did their work, like in SOX as well. We have the same resources today than before, and we made an effort. I am not sure that other countries and other origins like Peru or Mexico have done the same level of effort that we did by opening markets, making campaigns to different destinations, which are quite interesting and that have helped others. So promotion, of course, is a part of that, and we have to get together with all stakeholders to do that. People from Peru and Mexico have also said they are interested in doing that, but the best thing we can do is to ship good products, good fruit. And now everything is falling on the shoulders of farmers. And when I talk about good fruit, I'm not talking only about farmers, I'm talking about the entire chain, because we are a link in a logistics chain that should be able to reach the final destination with a firm piece of fruit. And I think that when consumers like something, they will buy it again, and they will buy it soon. And regarding indifference, what mentioned supermarkets and retailers, they want to avoid problems. in the U.S. and in Europe, they don't want to hear complaints from their customers saying that, well, this because on the label they find all information of who produced that fruit. They can go to Instagram and they really can make bad comments about that brand online. And I don't want to do that. We don't want customers to really say, well, the clamshell, there were pieces of clamshell in my fruit. So what customers say that you either improve your fruit or you change the source. And maybe they tell you that on January 15th when there is still a lot of fruit to come. We need to understand that there are a lot of competitors when we talk about volume, more supply, more players. We have a large Peruvian company together with a Mexican company selling in the United States, and they are now competitors. And definitely, what we don't want is to lose our market share. Therefore, we need to take care of our product to really be wary of rejection. And rejection is much more serious than high prices and bad prices, actually, because you can be left out of a retailer because of that. So I think that the best promotion that we can do today is to send out the best fruit.
In the present season, as an alternative, we made a promotion in Chile to increase the domestic consumption. Gonzalo, do you think that this is a good alternative for the blueberries for enhanced domestic sales based on your experience? Yes, definitely. I think it is. For example, in the case of the frozen fruits, it's clearly seen. We have another associate company that is Minuto Verde, and they are selling more and more frozen fruits, and the consumption internally is much more compared to their region. We do not have the marketplace to remediate this problem, but we can sell more fruits. There is no supply throughout the year for berries, and in the case of the blueberries, Hortifruta is doing this, but it's quite segmented in the markets. I mean, you cannot buy blueberries in the downtown area in Santiago in winter time, for example, just in the supermarkets. So I do believe that we can do this. It will not be a solution, but it can be important for some produce at the local level. As Maria Elena said a while ago, we need a competitive tool right from sustainability of the industry, and I think that this is very important, and maybe we can get something out of there, because from the yield rate and varieties, everybody is doing the right thing. But it has been very helpful. I think we still have a lot to show. For example, the clean energies that are used in Chile. Chile Alimentos, that is the industrial part of the chain. In this period of time, sustainability is our slogan, and we are concentrated on that, and is of paramount importance for some customers, particularly for the retailers, having clean energies and also managing the emissions and the mitigation of the carbon and water prints. And we are much better off compared to the United States. And on the other hand, this is getting more complicated from the point of view of productivity, new varieties, and so on. And the domestic market should not be neglected. I would follow in the same line of thoughts as Gonzalo said, how we can differentiate ourselves, because we are already very struck from the point of view of the varieties and the traveling that takes longer for us, and there is money involved. So there are many attributes that our fruit producing industry has, but we still need to promote this, showing all of this in the innovative manner, younger way. And we also have the issue of food safety because we are a country producing fresh produce for a long time, and we take care of the food safety, and I don't see this as part of the promotion. I think that we have different ways to differentiate our fruits and differentiate ourselves while we do all the changes that are required and compulsory. I do share with you, as we were discussing, we have many products, but there is no money. So, for example, the fertilizer is 30% more expensive, but we have to see all the attributes we have in the industry. A child 3 years old eats blueberry and has no health problems. So I think that we still have a lot to do. This is a giant challenge, but we should not be killing ourselves for that. It is important to say also that Chile had a very low risk from the social point of view, but with the immigration issues, we are closely monitored by the European countries in connection with the modern human rights. So I think we should pay close attention to that, the people who are dealing with contractors, because the responsibility finally is not or bears not on the contractor but the whole chain. We're responsible, accountable for the whole supply chain. I know that labor issues is a major headache, but we shouldn't neglect this because we can differentiate ourselves by having behavior and the right legislation so that immigration is not a problem. As a last round of questions, and very briefly, and taking into account something that happened to me today, two farmers asked me today what I was doing. Well, that is to say, I would like to start with you, Maria Elena. What is the message you have for the farmers? Well, for the farmers, I think that the fruit producing industry in Chile has always gone through problems. We have to overcome many problems compared to our neighbors because we have earthquakes problems and many other things. For example, we had a problem of poisoned grapes that was a disaster for the industry. The alopecia issue also. We said that we are knocked out, and we, however, succeeded to go ahead. But we need to do things well, and we have to be sincere, and we do not have to see what the neighbors are doing, but what we're doing ourselves, and to do what the neighbors, however, do because they are not doing better than ourselves. But I think that this window will always exist. However, we need to cover this window with quality because for Peruvians, maybe it's not comfortable to produce in summertime, but they were able to do so as a result of the poor quality from Chile. So I think that we still have to persevere, and we have this strength showing that we'll go on. It's difficult, but it's possible. Sorry, but I remember what you say of alopecia. I was working at a company in 2007, and I heard the producer saying that the wine producing industry was um, coming to an end in Chile. So I think that we still have a lot to learn from this experience, but we have to be accountable for that because I was participating of this crisis of the table grapes, but the said that the Peruvian grapes are not good in shape, but they are, and they said that the flavor was not good in Peru. And the same happened with the um, blueberries. So we have to catch up, and I liked what Luciano said that they need fruit from Chile. We have heard, for example, many stories that the receivers of fruit have already a deal with Peru and they don't want fruits from Chile. So we have to turn the page and to see what we're going to do next, to move on, to improve our productivity, the right areas, quality, promotion, and to move on, as we have done in the last 30 years. So I think we still have a lot to do, although I am optimistic. I think that we are facing a very complicated situation. The figures are not working out, and I think that we have to speak about that straightforward because the sales are not profitable enough for the farmer. The prices of frozen fruit are not very attractive to say that everybody should move to the frozen products. However, I think that an adjustment is taking place. Maybe this was a productive adjustment or an adjustment from nature. But we need adjustments and we can move on. And there is also a replacement of varieties that are some people who have moved to different crops. And however, I think there is another implicit topic here. The farmers who are not productive are really trapped and they are competing not only for this volume of 20 tons per hectare but competing with companies. We still have the small or middle-sized farmer, and this happens a lot in the industry of raspberries that came to an end. If you remember, the raspberry business was all fresh fruits, and today it doesn't exist. It's just a frozen fruit. So I think that now we are in this stage for the blueberry. When we speak of low yield, small fields, and in Peru they are not just companies, they are huge land properties that can absorb all the investments to do things right with labs, equipment, and so on. So I have to acknowledge this and to look for our right methodology, and the industry of frozen fruits is finding the way for the Chilean blueberry, and so far it is the best blueberry product available. That is to say, the most demanding customers from the world are buying the frozen blueberries from us, and well, I see that there is an adjustment of the volumes, and I don't see in the short run a possibility to recover the 30,000 tons of fresh fruit that we used to have, although the major efforts are deployed to replace the varieties. Thank you, Gonzalo. Luciano, you have the floor now. I will give you my impression. First of all, I would like to speak about the exit of fruit to the local market. We received, for example, the Mexican fruit and Chilean fruits. And my first year, without taking the Argentinian fruit, and I hope this is not the first year without the Chilean fruit because I need it. Well, the legend says that once upon a time in October you used to have 3 million of kilos and the market was saturated. And today we can move 10, 12 million a week and they flow. However, it's painful during some weeks, but this volume flows. I mean, 8 million of kilograms are easily sold compared to 3 million problems. So I think that we are fresh fruit producers and the others freeze their products, and there are conceptual differences. And you are right, the frozen fruit has a different flavor, and I think that the best that can happen is the existence of both fresh and frozen fruits, because sometimes frozen is not good enough for this and to have the right fruit. So I wanted to make it clear that the market should not be afraid, because we are not afraid of volume, but we are afraid of problems.
Based on that, I am hopeful. I think that we have a great product. There are not so many industries with such a wonderful product like ours. We are going through a painful moment. Once a farmer told me that my best years were my worst years. I did not understand what he meant by that, and he said I was one of the first people to plant in the south. I had 3,000 kilos per hectare. I went out on vacation, I bought trucks, and then I thought myself that everything went down and I thought everything was over, and I then got back on my feet and I produced 10,000 kilos per hectare, and then I went and things went down again, and those became my worst years. So it is hard to convince people to spend their money trusting 100% in the business. There is a business. That's what we need to remember, and that if we reach the sufficient quantity, promotion will take care of itself. I have been living in the U.S. for some years now, and I know firsthand the huge effort of SOX and the Blueberry Committee does to promoting the product in the U.S., and I know how retailers have turned down promoting the Chilean product, and they buy it due to necessity, but they really don't want to promote that as much. If we talk about, we don't have to talk about Chilean fruit. However, we all fall under the same category, but really this shouldn't be only based on marketing. So once again, I must say that the committee does a wonderful job, and people should get involved and really learn about what the IBO does, because Chile shouldn't be the only one promoting its product, even in those weeks that are exclusively of Chile. So I think that the business is not over. There is still business that can be done. We need to make some adjustments and have future meetings such as this one. It's different to speak after he does, but I won't get close. But well, the thing is, I think Chile has the conditions. We have capable farmers, and I also believe in small-scale producers. I think that this is a scale business, but I think that small producers also have some advantages, and we need to be competitive. because we are talking about windows, but we must be competitive at all times. If we do not increase the window, the Chilean window, by 3 or 4 weeks, no one will shorten theirs. Therefore, we need to be capable of producing good fruit from beginning to end. And we hope, with the help of geneticists, to find good varieties to produce for more than 2 months, to start in the end of November and go up until the beginning of March. And this will mean competing with the Peruvian fruit and the freshest Mexican fruit as well. Like Luciano said, we had times in which prices went much higher than what we are used to. And when we see our fruit in the market being sold for $18 and the Mexican fruit by $30, well, it's something that we must think about. So in order to be competitive, we need to invest. And investment shouldn't only go towards farmers. Because I'm always saying that we talk too much about producers, but we are nothing without them. And we need to help each other. And we, as the Blueberry Committee and as Northern Produce Exporting Company and the Exporters Association, we need to assess our processes, our chains. Also, we have talked about SAG that is facing resource limitations and budget cuts and lack of personnel. There's no director currently, and this is very serious. After several months of the new government, there is no director. So the export process should... People can say, well, by shortening the transit times, we will not solve all the problems that have been accumulated in the last 2 years. So the shipping companies, they have to be much more efficient, and they need to be much have or offer better costs as well. And we all must make an effort to keep the competitiveness of our industry. I think that we can do this. Is something that is feasible. We have a friendly community of farmers and exporters, and it's hard to see people who did well in the past that is not doing so well today. So today, of course, the replacement of varieties is the way to go. Each one will need to see what varieties they need for their specific areas, but there is good information available out there, and the committee has done a good job in outreaching this information to farmers and to have really energy to keep working hard. And so let's keep our spirits up to go ahead. I would like to close the panel with Maria Elena's final remarks. One, I would like to tell Gustavo that out of all the speakers, only 2 women spoke, and I think that in the blueberry industry, women's presence is very important because we are present in all links of this chain, and I would like that for the next time for more women to be heard. And lastly, I'd like to thank Gustavo and his team for the tribute they paid to Mr. Victor Muller. We, as the Hortifruit family, we've been hit very hard. But all of us who have worked with him, he used to tell us, problems are opportunities. And if the problems are more serious, there will be more opportunities. Therefore, we need to look to look for ways to keep on moving and go ahead.